we're gonna start the stream right now. And Vin is gonna join us pretty damn soon. So, yeah, we're gonna have a little podcast. I don't think that we're gonna talk about the recent news, unfortunately, since we don't have enough information to talk about it. And, weekly podcast is not about that, so I don't want to touch this topic, especially when we are live on YouTube too. So, how you guys doing? All good? Oh yeah, I'm all muted. So here's the thing to new people here. Later on, when we will have winners come here, we're gonna unmute some people. So if you want to talk with us together, like on the last podcast, feel free to raise your hand. We're gonna unmute you, and of course, we're gonna have some discussion. Floppy drive, if you want, you can do it even right now. Oh, and here is Venus. Hi there, Venus. Allow to speak. Yeah.
Hold on, there we go. I always get denied at first. How's it going in here, Meow Meow?
Well, chat is kind of crazy right now a little bit.
Yeah, I saw some interesting breaking news in the
the
main chat.
I said that I don't want to touch them right now, especially since no full story uncovered yet, and we're on YouTube too, so
Yeah.
We're not going
I
to
hear
touch
you.
it. Yeah. Thank you. I mean, I like that guy, so that's kind of personal too.
Yeah. Well, welcome back, everyone, to our Wednesday podcast. For those of you who haven't been here before, thanks for joining. My name is Venus DeMille, and we have been gathering here on Wednesdays to talk for an hour as a community about everything from current events to project updates, to community interests in terms of getting feedback from you guys in terms of what you'd like to see or what you're experiencing or anything you'd like to pass on to the project leadership that will be translated to them well and received well. They're really curious to hear from you guys. And they are paying a lot of attention as well to the governance chat and the governance posts. So we want you to know your voices are heard. My background is in blockchain, more specifically than crypto, although I've been in crypto a while now. And, I'm really passionate about what it means for decentralization. A lot of this for me is about a belief system having to do with closing the wealth gap through financial access, financial inclusion, and through stealth rebellion in a decentralized landscape. We like to talk a bit here about, we have a Telegram chat that's very chaotic and very densely packed, and there's a lot of different agendas flying around through there. So we're hoping to create more of a focused space where we can talk about the project potential, about where it sits in this DeFi ecosystem that's for everyone, how it can serve as a gateway to DeFi for the uninitiated to invest, to earn, to learn the ropes of crypto. We have a super professional team behind this project, an incredible number of people with a profound amount of experience working on the back end of the project and working on the bigger business implications of the project. Meow Meow and I are here on the front end to really interact with the community and to act as a bridge between the people burning the midnight oil behind the scenes and the people who've come to invest in this and become a part of this bigger movement. The scope of this community is broad and certainly holds a lot of different interests and a lot of different experience levels in terms of crypto investing. We'd like to be able to speak to all of your needs and interests. And, we feel like the more you understand, the more you benefit. Not everything has to be specific to this project. The more educated we are as a community, the better we are for DeFi and the better DeFi is for the world. So that's kind of the big picture vision here. Just to touch on a few high level things. It seems every time we come back on Wednesday, we've been through some crazy market cycle, some little mini market cycle that has left everyone depleted and, slightly confused in terms of where we're at right now. So we've decided to focus this particular week's discussion on something called a Wyckoff distribution event, which I'm sure some of you are familiar with. And we'll get into this in a moment. And also just, long-term investing and trading strategies. Now that we know nothing is for certain in crypto, and now that we understand that this cycle is different from past cycles in the sense that so many professional analysts are still trying to figure out, are we in a bull or a bear? There's a lot of people far smarter than myself who are still questioning what to expect next. So I think it's important to bring some dialogue around how everyone here is investing and, what to anticipate going forward. Not that any of us have all the answers, but I think, to make sure that the community is equipped with some really solid strategies. For those of you who are new to the project, this project is unique in the DeFi space because it has a very high profile brand. It has some very high profile ambassadors for that brand. It's a governance token, which is kind of the best token you can have in any DeFi project because it means that, you get to vote and you get to have a voice in everything from the ETP that's coming down the line to any other sort of large scale developments that will happen on this project. Your vote is proportional to how much you own of the token, but it's sort of a step up from a utility token in that sense. The yield farming on this project is quite significant as far as the current landscape, the competitive aspect of that. The yields that are offered on the WSB token are quite high and quite valuable. And I think everyone here knows that there's an ETP coming down the line that's being worked on right now. It's a custom development by Balancer Labs because of the nature of it being a crypto ETP. So I think it's taken just a little bit longer than initially anticipated, but it's, being built from the ground up by a really, really capable company that is worth looking into if anyone's unfamiliar. But again, they're called Balancer Labs. To address some of what we talked about last week, one of the prominent themes that was coming up for us is, a fiat on-ramp for the WSB token because so many people in this community have friends and family, colleagues, et cetera, that they have wanted to promote this to and wanted to get involved who are not crypto savvy, who do not know what MetaMask is or PancakeSwap, and just the process of getting their account funded and figuring out how to acquire the token was becoming for many a stumbling block. So this is something that is actively being worked on behind the scenes. The dev team is actively exploring what the best solution is, and they believe that they will have a fiat on-ramp solution for WSB in the near term. Again, that could be a month or two. It's not to say it's going to happen overnight, but it is to say that is coming. I think everyone on the team feels really strongly that will benefit the project in myriad ways. And also fall into alignment with the intent of this, which is to onboard the masses into DeFi. There was a Bitmart listing for anyone who missed it. The WSB token is now on Bitmart, which is another easy way for someone to get a hold of it if they want to sign up for the exchange. And anyone who has questions about what that means to be listed on both a DEX and a CEX at the same time, we can talk about that. The feature documentary is still well underway. There is a filmmaker named Ondi Timonur and a production company called Interloper Films that is behind this. And they're going to be filming it until January of 2022 for a September 2022 release. And to just touch on a few quick current events before we jump into our main subject. So Paraguay is now in a race for second place to make Bitcoin its official currency. The Israeli central bank is going to use Ethereum as a technology to create a pilot program for a CBDC. This is something that they feel very committed to, and I think are looking to be somewhat on the forefront and bleeding edge of the CBDC plan. And Dubai has had its first crypto listing, which is an ETP called the Bitcoin Fund. So that's the first in terms of the Dubai Nasdaq. So as you can see, this is happening at a global scale at a pretty fast rate in terms of not just adoption but implementation. A lot of governments reversing their previously held positions on crypto. I think realizing that a lot of their citizens are going to find a way to get a hold of it with or without them.
You also missed one news.
What is the one news?
That Coinbase was approved by Japanese government, and right now they officially can trade in Japan.
This is also true. So Coinbase, yes, Coinbase has been approved in Japan. I think they're starting with a listing of only 5 tokens for
That's
reasons
just the
I don't
beginning.
understand yet. But yes, it's really big news because Japan has also been, a little bit hesitant around all of this.
I would call conservative.
Yeah.
Considering
Yeah.
what happened after Mt. Gox, it's understandable why. Since Mt. Gox was based in Japan too.
Yeah, it's also interestingly the Japanese community has not been as aggressive about their adoption as other communities have been as well. And there was actually an interesting story I was reading about Japan really their biggest boom was the electronics age, which was, Sony, Toshiba, so on and so forth. I mean, they had over 49 global brands that produced some of the world's most important electronics, from the Walkman to the Nintendo to the Atari system, the first LCD panel, the first home computer system. They were really at the forefront of it, but they didn't adapt so much to the cloud computing era and the software era. So when the world moved on from tactile electronics to cloud-based systems, Japan didn't continue to innovate in that way and has been somewhat in a stuck market since the late 80s. So it's going to be really interesting to see culturally how they adapt crypto. If the thinking or the theory is that it's definitely not tactile, and is obviously something that's a step beyond cloud computing. If this is something that culturally the citizens of Japan will embrace fully, or whether it's something that there'll continue to be some hesitancy and skepticism around. But again, each country has its own nuanced, views and relationships to what crypto is and how it suits their everyday life. So yes. So just checking in here with Meow Meow. Talk to me. You've been in the community all week. Talk to me about what you're hearing and seeing, and what you think some of the top line discussions have been.
All right. Today happened a little oopsie from PancakeSwap side, and the API died for some time, causing panic, all the stuff, because people balances didn't show up, nothing for no one, absolutely. So just want to thank our devs. They found a workaround while PancakeSwap was repairing the API. Just to everyone to understand, this is not just our project, right? Every single project on Binance Smart Chain were affected by that, and even more, actually. The same issues were on Matic or Polygon. So that was like a major outage. I think something happened basically, and right now it seems to be fixed, but our devs did it a little bit earlier. They made a little workaround and made it work. So some of you guys didn't even notice it, right? But thanks to some people who reported to me, so, and thanks to devs who fixed it, right? And also, of course, a little bit of delay on the ETPs. I think everyone understands why. It's kind of hard work, and we're working on making them good. And Balancer, we having a daily talk with Balancer at this point, making everything work properly, all the stuff. Just because, like, I think we can jokefully say that the world wasn't prepared yet for us, and yet that's why we need to make this adjustment. That therefore there are some delays, but work is going on. Don't worry. And also, Bitcoin crash. But like, yes, yes. And the
Did
thing
it?
is, I actually said it in Satoshi Street Bets already. I'm gonna say it here. I'm still very bullish on the whole situation. And the reason why,
Mm,
you see, miners are leaving China right now. China basically
right.
locking down, saying we're not going to deal with you anymore, all this stuff. I've been saying that for months already, that miners will move to Kazakhstan, to Siberia, and I actually didn't expect Russia. Didn't expect USA.
Uzbekistan.
No, 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 USA. You didn't expect USA,
Oh, the USA, yeah.
but
Uh,
there are actually, I believe, I forgot the name of that. There's a giant company, and they're moving their operations to Maryland in the United States,
mm-hmm.
and that means, actually, that just hints. I'm not saying this is 100% right or something like that. I think United States wouldn't allow something like that, or this company wouldn't go to the United States without getting some guarantees or some lobbyists on their side. And
Right.
now we're hearing news that United States are actually going to finalize the draft on the how to regulate cryptocurrencies, how to make them into legal state, all the stuff. So I think this is one of the reasons why, and they moved to Maryland, US. And also, oh, sorry, Venice. One more thing, okay? One more thing about El
Go ahead.
Salvador, about my favorite country right now. So apparently, World Bank actually mocked El Salvador, saying that they can't implement Bitcoin, all this stuff, right? But the
Oh,
thing,
this is a funny one. I know where you're going with
yes,
this. It's good.
yes, there was a Forbes article saying that actually World Bank should to approve Bitcoin as a payment matter and make everyone approve it because it's stated in the law, in the basically
Yeah.
agreement. And
Yeah.
that's so
It's pretty
ironic.
good.
That's so ironic, honestly. I love this irony. All right, Venice, I'm shutting up.
No, no, no. I mean, I think it is a good point. It's good, a good punchline for the week. And yeah, I mean, it has been an interesting and difficult week. I think every day feels like a week. I think it was 2 days ago that I woke up and thought, oh my God, everything, you could hear a pin drop in the room. And yet it feels like this has been cyclical for the last, month and a half. And it's so much so that it's not fun to talk about per se, but at the same time, I think there are a lot of people here for whom this is their first market cycle. For some, it's their second market cycle. And I think it's incredibly important for us to all have some perspective of where we're at in this market, because many people have a lot on the line, and it is hard for anyone to truly predict what's going to happen next. And so this brings us back to this subject that has been discussed and circulated for the last several weeks in terms of attempting to provide some perspective to retail buyers, which is called a Wyckoff distribution event. There are some great videos on YouTube about it. There are some wonderful articles written. There's, historically a library of material written about this. But essentially, the background is that, Wyckoff was a really famous analyst who observed numerous retail investors being repeatedly fleeced by institutions. This is back in the 30s. And so he dedicated himself to instructing the public about the real rules of the game as played by the large interests, or the quote unquote smart money. So in the 1930s, he founded a school, which would later become the Stock Market Institute. And the school's central offering was a course that integrated the concepts that Wyckoff had learned about how to identify large operators' accumulation and distribution of stock with how to take positions in harmony with these big players as opposed to getting fleeced by them. So his time-tested insights are as valid today as when first articulated. And something that I'll be the first to say, I'm not the master of technical analysis. I understand it. I do it a little bit myself, but there are people, I'm sure, even in this room, who are probably much more seasoned with that than I am. But the one thing I'm quite confident about, and the thing that people will tell you over and over again, is that technical analysis it's a science that has been around for an extremely long time, and most of the times it nets out. It doesn't always predict the future of the market, but it does often predict the next movement in the market. And it has been successful in predicting stock market movements for over a century. And the Wyckoff distribution event is an articulation of this. It's essentially laying out a graph to help the general public, to help the retail investor, such as ourselves, understand what we're looking at when we're looking at, the last 3 months of the Bitcoin chart. And I think all of us accepting that Bitcoin is the key driver of the market. And to understand that institutions and huge investors take, very deliberate steps to goose up the market, to get retail buyers to FOMO into it. And they find these natural peaks based on their own technical analysis to then cause massive sell-offs and to shake out those retail buyers. And we've talked about this a little bit in terms of just the broad strokes, but getting into it a little bit deeper, there are charts and graphs that are going to be available to you online that you can look up and really understand. If you lay the Bitcoin chart over one of these classic Wyckoff distribution model charts, you'll see that it's almost eerie how close they are in terms of the general progression of what we have experienced over these last several weeks. And just today, for example, it was announced that Cathie Wood's ARK investment just bought another $35 million worth of Bitcoin, as I'm sure did Michael Saylor and all these other institutional investors. And so there is a thing happening that we should all understand. It is somewhat unique to this cycle, which is not to say it hasn't happened in past cycles, but I don't think it was as prominent because there weren't as many prominent institutions in the market before. And so it kind of, if anything, should help you sleep at night, knowing that this roller coaster that we have been on for a month and a half is a market manipulation that has been manipulated by institutions. It's the same thing they've been doing since the beginning of time, as far as markets are concerned. And the theory is, if you can identify their next move and move with them as opposed to against them, or as opposed to being somewhat of a victim of this very, very tactical strategy, then you can ride your way through a market cycle like this and come out actually in one piece. It's hard, obviously we're doing a voice podcast, so we don't have charts and things to throw up for you on the screen. But I do think it would be interesting to hear from the community, from Meow Meow as well, about how you guys are experiencing this time. 2 days ago, everyone thought Bitcoin was going to, 20K or 2K. Today, everyone thinks it's going to 60K or 100K. I'd just love to hear how everyone in the community is experiencing this. Less so about your predictions, but more about how are you experiencing this? What are the concerns that you're harboring, and like how is it affecting your day-to-day life? Because this is obviously a 24-hour market cycle, and some of us are going to sleep feeling fine and waking up, feeling panicked based on what's happened over the last 8 hours. So I'd love to turn this over to the community and get everyone engaged in this discussion.
Well, we have Floppy Drive. Hi there, Floppy.
Hello.
Hi, Floppy.
How's it going?
Great.
So I know for me, I'm relatively new to crypto. I started, I think, January or February timeframe, really starting to actually put money into it. of course, I've heard of Bitcoin ever going back to 2013, but this was the first time I really got involved and kind of, I guess, FOMO'd in, with Ethereum, really. And fortunately, I was able to make some gains off of some altcoins to where even after the drop, I'm just above break even. And so it hasn't affected me as much as I know others are. But there's a few things that I look at, I guess, from a technical analysis perspective, in that there's been some correlation to the hash rate between, or the mining hash rate for Bitcoin and the price of Bitcoin, and some correlation there. And with the drop off of the hash rate, hence the drop in price, I guess there's some speculation that as the hash rate increases, with the miners moving out of China and into other countries, that we might see Bitcoin kind of recover off of that as well. And another thing I've seen lately as well is that there was some serious shorting going on with Bitcoin just a couple days ago, and that has seemingly died off as well. So it seems like we're in kind of a stable point. I know for me, I have to remind myself to kind of get away from the charts and just trust my fundamental analysis that I've done, and trust some of the projects that I've invested in, and just kind of let it alone and move on, do something else for the day, and check on it later. I know this is a long-term thing. If you look back at cycles and everything with Bitcoin and other cryptos, it certainly seems to always recover at some point. So that's kind of what's going on for me. I just have to remind myself, kind of zoom out and just look at the long-term perspective of it, and it certainly gains confidence for me when I look at it from that.
That sounds smart, and I think so important for the mental health. So important for a market that's 24/7 and this volatile. How do you do your fundamental analysis when you're looking at a project? This is for Flappy.
I am extremely technical, so I'm a sysadmin. So I'm starting to understand some of the blockchain technology, and I'm a big believer in it. Just fundamentally, in the sense of what it can bring with decentralization, of course, not only in finance but in in currencies and other areas. I guess some of the community involvement is neat to see as well. So in a very broad view, that's kind of where my fundamental analysis comes in. And then within specific projects and dApps and things like that, it really comes down to, I guess for me, if it makes sense. I don't know that I have like a specific thing I'm looking for, but if it makes sense to me and I believe in it and I think it has high potential, then that's where I put my money.
Smart guy. So there's something I also happened to read when I was personally skimming through the governance forum, because I love to read through this and see what's at the forefront of people's minds. And I'm actually so impressed with the substance and the level of articulation that's happening in there. It's once you kind of get off the Telegram and into the governance forum, it's some very meaningful proposals being put forth and some great ideas. And I did catch one of yours that really had my attention, which was about reminding people of what they're investing in and why they're investing in what they're investing in. And I think by now everyone here is aware that WSB isn't your average 3-day shitcoin that kind of pops up in BSC, but actually this much more complex and long-term project. But I thought the point you made was so important, because I think many people new to crypto are looking at crypto like a stock market, but without the connection to the actual product. And this idea that like, I'm going to invest in Apple stock because it's worth a lot. Imagine if you didn't know what Apple was, or if Apple had never produced anything. It suddenly takes on a very different shape. And so I feel like a lot of investing in this space, from what I've observed, is somewhat disconnected from the fact that this is a real project and that there's something that is being built. And part of that's because what's being built is quite nascent still. not just on this project, but of many, many projects in blockchain. And, I know a lot of people that hold tokens and they don't even know what the token is connected to. People who buy ADA that have never heard of Cardano, or people who buy VET but don't understand what VeChain is. So I think that was a really, really helpful post, and a really, really salient point to say that, people sometimes get frustrated over price action or over product delays, which is understandable. But you have to kind of understand what you're actually investing in. It's not just the token itself, it's the project that the token is connected to. I think especially as we start to kind of go through our portfolios and say, oh my God, like what can I let go? What do I keep? What do I double down on now that everything's on sale? There's never been a better time to really, really look at the project that you're investing in and ask yourself, is it going to be around in a year? Does it have a future? Does it have a purpose? Does it have a utility? And from there you can start to understand what the factors are that will eventually elevate the price.
Yeah, I agree. For me, one of the biggest things that I kind of dislike about a lot of crypto projects is all the hype that goes on with it. It almost reads as a kind of Ponzi scheme in a sense, where the more people you can get on, the better it is for the early investors. And if you're one of those early investors, then it really benefits you. And so I generally shy away if I see a lot of that. It just feels bad to me. There's another token that you know what I'm talking about, where there is a lot of that hype, and I'm generally excited about seeing what they have to offer later on. But again, it's connected to the fundamentals. And that's actually one of the things I like about this WSBDapp is there's not so much of that hype. They're kind of just heads down working on the product, not trying to elevate the price higher than what it's at. And I'm sure some of the marketing is coming, especially after the product is actually released. But as of right now, it doesn't make sense to hype this a whole lot unless you understand what's coming and what's the potential behind it. But I know I've seen in the Telegram chat often is where are the influencers, where's the marketing, and that was really what spawned that post. Was because I was seeing so much of that, and I think people are used to other projects where that is the case, where it's all about hyping it up and getting as many people on board. We saw it with really Dogecoin is kind of the prime example.
Right.
It just huge in the market or in the news media, but it's starting to be used as a currency, but there's really not that much of a product that goes with it. Whereas some of these smaller dApps and stuff, there's an actual product there. There's value behind the token, and that's what I usually look for personally. So
the thing with marketing, if you don't mind, I will add a little bit. The tactics, and understand this tactics completely, is not to overhype the project, because basically if you overhype it on an early stage, that would cause actually a drop much more significant than stable decline, basically what we have right now. And just to everyone to understand, I don't see any problems with the price being that low right now. The reason why, because if you bring analogy from the startup companies, right? It's called J curve. And that means that product is not yet delivered, but IDO is finished, and these funds are used to create the product, all the stuff. So when the product gonna be delivered, right, there will be a little gap where price gonna be a little bit fluctuating, but when people will actually see how the project works and all the stuff, that the point when you will see price going up, because this is free market and price is depending on the supply and demand, right? So yeah, I think paper hands are going away, and diamond hands are still there, and I believe the diamond hands are only people who will get the most out of the price going up later on. I don't want to make any predictions, right? But I'm still kind of bullish.
Yeah. Well, I think too that I mean the BSC chain, if we may just be frank, has really turned into quite a shit show over the last couple months. I mean, I think the fact that anyone, like literally anyone, can go on to DX sale and mint their own token and launch it 4 hours later, as a pre-sale it's insane. It's to me, it's a little bit like putting automatic weapons in the hands of children in terms of how many people are just launching. I mean, plenty of it is certainly scams and rug pulls and honeypots and all that kind of stuff. But there's also just people that have no idea what they're doing that are launching tokens and living off the adrenaline for 3 days, and then the whole thing crashes to the floor and they have no real capability of moving it forward. And that hype cycle that we're talking about that Floppy mentioned is like you can't sustain hype for months and months and months. You can sustain it for maybe 3 days before people move on to something else. And the style of investment that is happening in a lot of these token launches in the BSE space is a get in and get out kind of pump and dump mentality. And so the fact that this project happens to be on the BSC chain and associated with, I think optically associated with a group, with a Reddit group that has become quite famous for pumping and dumping AMC and GME, is it sort of I think maybe miscast people's understanding of what it was from the outset. And I think that understanding has been corrected in the last couple of months. But you just, that type of marketing and that type of hype, you really can't sustain that for the 3 or 4 months it takes to actually develop and launch things.
Yeah, I agree. And I as someone who's a big follower and I'm enjoying seeing the development of WSBDapp. If it did hype up to say $2, even as someone as myself who's heavily invested in and believes in the future of the thing, I'd probably be selling. Let's be honest. I mean, I'm going to take my my hundreds of thousands of tokens and sell because I want to take advantage of that, and I think it would be overvalued if it was hyped up to $1 or $2
right
at this point. So I think it's healthy that it's dropped certainly below what I would have liked to see. It's not nice to see my tokens probably about half value that they were even just a week ago and when I bought them originally. But it's healthy to have those diamond hands, as they say, and just kind of build the price action in correspondence with product and use cases and utility versus trying to hype up something. And I think that it can give a bad taste as well for those who are investing on a more serious basis. So that's my perspective on it. I think, true investors, I guess. I like to look at some of these projects as actual investments. So I try to take a step back from all the noise with other cryptos that are pumping up to 100x, 1000x even. Those are crashing, and it's not healthy. And I just prefer to kind of be more of a long-term holder and see the product play out.
Yeah, and it's I have to say, like, this last week alone, I have some friends who are in various various call groups, and some of whom can be quite degen in their shitcoin hunting, and have reported back to me. I mean, they've been getting rugged twice in a day. There have been projects that say, "Oh, sorry, there's something wrong with our contract code. We're relaunching in an hour. Sorry about that." And then they relaunch the second time and they rug it again. And so, from my very distant perspective, is that whatever was happening in BSC back in January and February, where people are jumping in and out of these projects and making 10x, 20x, 30x a day. That's not happening right now. That's gone away and has been largely replaced with scams. So I could, in some regards, understand an investor's frustration if they're thinking, oh my God, I'm missing out on all these 100x returns in 24 hours because I'm heavily invested in this one token that's a little bit down right now. But none of those projects that are launching now are hitting that, and none of those are going to be around in a year. And I think that we're all quite lucky to have landed in something where there is a real long-term vision for it. And it's not something anyone's going to trade on in the short term and make these huge gains, but that was never really the idea. So it's kind of emerging out of this BSE mess as something truly, truly viable. So yeah, I too feel like grateful that I ended up in it. I, like many of you, I'm sure, wish had entered at a slightly lower range, but I guess that's what DCAing is for. And I can certainly see in the next 6 months to a year where this can go, and it's pretty exciting. And I feel like I also have this group that I hang out in that is all they're all Rune and Luna maxis, and are just like literally like computer scientists and like former traders and very, very smart, cunning people. And they will all tell you the story of how they bought Rune for 3 cents, 6 cents, 7 cents at a time when everyone thought it was a shitcoin and nobody thought it had a future. And they just bought up gobs of it. And I'm like, how did you know to buy it? And they're all like, we didn't. We just, we just kind of took a gamble. There was something about it we liked. We didn't know if it would ever hit 10 cents. And, at the peak of this market cycle, it was at $22. So, there are people that literally made 7-8 figures on one token that they bought 3 years ago.
I've heard of, I think BNB started off at 10 cents in its ICO. And at the top of the market cycle, I think it went up to about $700. So it was like 7,000x.
Yeah.
And that's a serious project. That's pretty incredible.
Well, there was another one called Mina, which is a blockchain project from a very serious blockchain team, based out of San Francisco. They did their ICO on CoinList. I was devastated to not get into it. The coin was priced at 25 cents per. And at some point before they actually launched on a proper CEX, you could still look it up at Coin Market, and it was it wasn't trading yet, but the value of it, the valuation of it was somewhere around $70. And I walked around for months kicking myself that I hadn't gotten into this private sale or the pre-sale, and felt like the ship had sailed. And they finally go to list it on the exchanges about 2 weeks ago, and in one day it went from $70 down to $5, and from $5 it's now at like 168. So this is the thing I've really been snapping up. But it's to say this is a project that I think will someday go to 500, 1,000. I mean, I think it has incredible long-term potential. But had I not studied it for 2 or 3 months, I wouldn't know to be so bullish about it right now. I wouldn't know what a bargain I was getting this at. And that's for me has been actually one of the real beautiful things that have come out of this otherwise like hellish course that we've been on, is seeing projects like that actually affordable. Whereas I'm not sure that they will be for long. And with WSB, it's been very nice to be able to kind of DCA into that a little bit further to sort of even out my averages on it. Mia, what do you think?
Sorry, I was a little bit dealing with stuff in the background, so I didn't hear mostly morning stuff. I'm sorry.
That's all right. We can mute you again. You can go
I'm
back.
yeah.
Is there a,
If I'm not talking, it means like I'm a little bit busy, all the stuff, because I need to still do my work too, right?
You're good. You're good. Is there anyone else in the community that would like to speak or share their stories about what this last few weeks has been for them, um, or what questions they have about, where things are going from here? So we have a Lek from Australia. We have an Alan Peterson. This is a very shy
Ellie,
group. Here we go.
Ellie,
Eli.
yeah, or Eli. My Russian ass
Yeah,
cannot
do we
pronounce properly.
do we have any oh yeah, there isn't any upcoming news there, is there? I mean I was reading about BTC Vix saying he was gonna announce it soon.
Yeah,
In terms of anything to report today, no, we wanted to touch on the ETP being somewhat delayed, and updates on the documentary and the listing on the Bitmart CEX. But I'm not sure what he is going to announce next. Meow, did you have any information?
well,
I was mainly
the problem is
wondering about
the problem is I have some information. The thing is, I have no permission to disclose it yet. But what I see right now is kind of bullish, so I have to keep you in suspense, right? But I cannot disclose this info yet. But I think Wix gonna little bit feed it to community later on. So sorry guys, but just wait a little bit. But news are really, really good, trust me. And regarding marketing side, yes, we're gonna have something kind of soon. Very, very soon. Not saying yet what, but you're gonna like it. Again, guys, NDAs, all the problems,
Make me mad that this is quite possibly the most unhelpful update in the history of mankind, but thank you.
Yeah, I can do
Thank
I
you.
can do it, I can do it anytime you want, right? But like there is a lot of news, right? Seriously, there is a lot, but we cannot disclose them yet because there is some NDA, there is some not confirmed stuff, right? Or work in progress, all the stuff, right? I'm gonna ask permission, of course, but like not now, not ready to talk about it yet, okay?
Yeah. I mean, I think that the two things that the team was really excited to share was that they are working on a fiat on ramp for the project. I think a lot of people were hopeful that there could be some easier way to introduce new people to it. And for those of you who were not here last week, they are filming a document. There's a documentary being filmed on Jamie and the history of the Wall Street Bets movement, his role in founding it. And the film crew has been with Jamie and BTC Vixen and Baby Yoda in Miami, and they're apparently somewhere in the Eastern Seaboard right now interviewing some Degen apes. But they're going to be in Las Vegas this fall, and we're interested in finding some very interesting people in the community that would stand out as people who really, are not just dedicated to this project, but represent, the future of crypto and the future of the masses sort of onboarding onto crypto. So the idea being that they wanted you guys to know that it's possible that people will be cast out of the community into the documentary. So those were two little nuggets of information. I've said this actually in previous weeks, and we'll repeat it one more time, which is like it's so crazy to me seeing how much work is going on behind the scenes and knowing how many different teams are working, from the dev team, the marketing team, there's two different marketing teams, strategy teams. There's like this crazy robust operation behind the scenes, but because of the nature of the work, so little of it spills out to the front lines that it's hard. I think if I were in the shoes of the community, it would be very hard to see that work on the day to day. But it is really impressive what they're doing and what they're building towards. And, that's really like the most exciting thing I can say to you guys is like, they're doing this at such a high level and, only bringing the best partners into that process, whether it's Balance or Labs or otherwise. So there's a lot to be really confident about.
Okay.
Eli, did you have any other questions that we can answer since Meow Meow seems to be under some kind of gag order?
Sorry. No.
I'm just asking.
I'm just asking.
Asking Eli.
I'm just asking. Can I disclose some of it? Nothing more.
I know. Can you? I would love if you did. What can you tell the group?
Well, I can tell you that. Well, boom. I don't even know what to tell you guys. Like there is a lot of stuff, right? But like all of this somewhat confirmed, not confirmed. Like I.
All right. You come back when you're clear. When you're clear. Josh Bernstein is interested in saying something. Josh, are you with us?
Joshua, you're muted.
This is what happens to me every time I start.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay, awesome. Thank you. So yes, I'm coming from Wall Street. I was a trader for about 20 years, and recently I've been starting to dabble a little bit into the cryptocurrency world. One of my biggest pet peeves, and when I speak to a lot of my peers as well, it seems like the overwhelming majority has like the same issue that I have regarding all these coins and tokens. And I feel like it comes down to transparency. And as much as blockchain and the whole crypto market is the reason they say that like this is going to be the next thing, this is going to be the god of the world, is because of the transparency. The average person has no idea, as you were just saying, like what's going on behind the scenes. Who owns these tokens? When did they get in? Who's selling? Who's not selling? Who's holding? There's no like insider list. So it's like, for all we know, and I'm sure it's not happening, but like the WSBDapp coin is like, whenever this was created, maybe the insiders got in at tenths of a penny, and now they're selling millions of coins at 3 cents and 4 cents, and then everyone else is holding the bag. It doesn't seem like there's, and I'm not just talking about this coin, just in general, it's very hard to see what's going on behind the scenes, and there's very little information out there.
I mean, that's interesting to hear and helpful to hear, to understand what that limited visibility is. And I'm as you're speaking, I'm trying to think of how to best address that. I'm almost tempted to say that, I don't know if have you been on any of the talks where the leadership has come on, whether BTC Fix, Jamie, Baby Yoda? No. Okay.
No, but I'm even just talking about in general for the whole crypto market. I mean, someone who invests in Bitcoin or Ethereum, the average person's not going on a podcast and listening to the starters talking. It's like where online, where is there like, and not a forum, where can you just sit down and like read a piece and see that info?
Excuse me, can I please? Joshua.
Okay, yeah, sure.
All right. So actually, it's much easier than you think. So there is a link to, if you go to our website and click on the verified Wall Street Bets contract, you will get to the BSC scan website. That's basically Blockchain Explorer, right? where
Okay.
you can see distribution of tokens, and every single transaction you can see and understand it, right? Where does money go, all the stuff. And therefore, you can see the holder list, how much people are holding, or how much people are selling, all the stuff. Everything is transparent there. So if you want, I can
Yeah.
post a link.
So you can see the actual person's name, or you're just
No,
seeing the
you can see
transactions?
transactions and wallets, basically.
But you can generally gauge from that what are the dev wallets, the marketing wallets, et cetera, distinct from the actual community's wallets. I'm gonna add to what Miami was saying, but I'm gonna answer this actually in a more sort of holistic way, because what he's saying is very important, which is that the nature of blockchain and the nature of crypto is that it's actually more transparent than the banking system. There are ways to observe, to monitor, to analyze the movements of every single transaction in this space. And there are many projects, something like Aave, which has no day-to-day management on it, but all of the information is there on the blockchain. So part of it is, and you're working with a permissionless, trustless system. Part of it is to, I think to look at and observe those things. Personally, I don't love spending all my time tracking wallets on BSC scan. It's not a favorite pastime. It's not something that my brain enjoys. But I like knowing how it works. I like that I understand it. But that's not where I go when I'm looking to build confidence in a project. So I think to address this on a bigger standpoint, I think this project has actually been quite transparent in terms of its leadership being very active in the voice chat historically over time. And, I think active in the regular chat and there to answer questions and so on and so forth. Where I think that maybe there's an interesting opportunity here is to create more of a, behind the scenes video kind of thing where you can sort of meet the project leaders and understand a little bit more about who they are and what they do and what the process is like. I think what's tricky about that is the fact that everyone's, this is not a centralized operation where everyone's working out of an office. This is an operation where everyone's working from around the world, and it's in a year that no one's been able to travel. So, it's not as easy as sort of like sending someone around the world with a camera to film them. But I think, I hear what you're saying, and I do personally feel like that they have been quite active and present and engaged in the community. For many of the people on the team, many of the partnerships, you can Google them and look up who they are and what they do, and I think that would give you a lot of added confidence. But it may be that there is more of a disconnect than we realize between the community and the project leadership that needs to be somehow addressed and amended.
Yeah, like I said, I come from Wall Street. I've been trading for so many years. I can find within 30 seconds how many employees work for the company. Insider shares, how many they have, how many they sold, how many they will get, what their pay is yearly.
All right.
It's like, it's like where the headquarters are. Like you said, these people even know each other who are on the team? Have they ever met?
Yeah.
Is it all?
Yeah, and I listen. Here's what I would say about that too, because that's also many modern businesses.
Yeah.
But this is not modern business. This is blockchain. It's different, and I think that's the idea. And so I think part of that transition from Wall Street to crypto is understanding how wildly different they are, and that in the same way that we talked last week, there was Mark Cuban just did this op-ed, which was quite helpful in terms of talking about how yield farming is able to deliver the yields that it delivers. And it kind of goes into the central banking system in terms of, well, there you have offices, you have employees, you have staff, you have staplers, you have electricity bills, you have all of these costs and infrastructure that go towards the way that this operates, whereas in decentralized finance, you have none of that. And so I think there is a gap to bridge in terms of how traditional finance works and how DeFi works. And traditional finance, for all of its transparency, is also very exclusionary to the average person. It does not let or allow for the average person to necessarily walk off the street and access that, whether it's the information or whether it's the opportunities. Whereas decentralized finance is much less formal. It's much less traditional, but it offers a very different form of financial access and inclusion for people around the world that was never available to them. And so it's just a completely different system. It's never going to have maybe the same level of transparency as traditional finance, but I think that's why so many people in this world, especially the ones, and these are the funny ones, the ones who have survived a bear market where there was nothing for them to do, will joke about how they literally learned how to read white papers and do technical analysis during that time because there was just literally nothing else for them to do. And those are the ones that seem to be really advancing through the field this time around because they've given themselves the tools to analyze a project and to analyze the market in a way that and many of them did come from traditional finance backgrounds, but they've learned how to kind of apply these very classical techniques to this very, very new landscape. But I guess my point being that like the very things that give you comfort in traditional finance are the very things that are part of a system that historically didn't give access to so many other people. And the fact that anyone who's on this project or anyone who's in this chat can go on BSC Scan, can look up the wallets for this project, understand what the distributions are, is I think kind of as transparent as it gets.
Yeah.
Maybe not the answer you wanted.
No,
Actually,
it's a different mind frame, but I mean, I see it the more and more I study it, but the average person that I speak with, my peers, they just don't understand any of this.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. To get more people.
I can add
Okay, Nyamia, go ahead.
I can add a little bit, right? So in blockchain projects, right, you said like you want to see how the distribution, all the stuff. There was a paper, which actually called light paper, where you see the tokenomics, how everything is distributed, how it will be, and all the stuff, how much is locked behind a team, what's so-called an insiders, right? So regarding fundamentals, in a DeFi, it's somewhat close to the real world, right? Still a little bit different, I understand, right? But it's, again, it's just a little bit different mindset. And most of the stuff, I agree, majority of hype coins, for example, tokenomics is not detailed, and basically, yeah, we're gonna spend this for marketing, maybe this we will keep it, maybe this we will burn, and again, right? In a good projects, no matter is it our project or everything's locked basically, and it was stated that like it will be like that, it will be like that. So yeah, I understand this fear. When I was entering crypto, I came there with the same mindset, right? But later on, I just understood that honestly it doesn't really matter, because actually what you need really is utility, how the dev team works, what the background of a devs, all the stuff. That's a little bit more important in my opinion, right?
Well, it's interesting because there's also one of my favorite projects is a project called Thorchain, which the devs are all anonymous on, and they're based all over the world. And I had to, people had to really explain to me and convince me how this could be a legitimate project. If everyone was undoxed and there was no centralized leadership. And so there was a learning curve for me, for sure, coming into this from a very traditional business world and a very traditional business background. And, having been very exposed to the traditional financial system through relationships that I've had. It really took me a minute to get there, because it's like the whole thing can feel very cyberpunk at times, and where you're like, is this fiction? Is this real? And all this is okay, and people are investing anyways. And so, one of the best pieces of advice someone gave me was, that you have to have conviction in what you're investing in, and the only way you're going to achieve that conviction is through research and talking to people you trust and really, really studying and understanding a project. I think this cycle has been so frenetic and so, it was quite a bull market for a moment there in terms of the gains people were making, where it literally was like, I don't care if I think, ADA is the best thing that ever existed, or if I think it's vaporware, if I think it's going up, 10x, I'm investing in it. And I think there were a lot of people that were playing the crypto market like they would play the stock market in terms of where can I just get the best and fastest gains. And there was somewhat of an abandonment of fundamentals for a moment there, because everything was moving so quickly and everything was just popping off. And now that there's been this capitulation and resettling, I think it's giving us all kind of a moment to breathe and to kind of like look back and to look forward and say, okay, well, here we are in this moment. We have a little bit of time to better understand what our investments are, to understand these fundamentals, to take inventory of what we've learned over the last couple of months, and to say, like, I now have a plan. If we do enter a bull market, at least I have a plan for that. And I also have a plan if this goes right into alt season, and to really make sure that you take this time instead of just, I say this to myself as well as like everyone here, curled up in a ball staring at charts, but rather saying, okay, this is like actually a quiet moment to really set the stage for what comes next, because it's probably going to go one of two ways. I'm about the bull market roaring back. That's me. Everyone has, their own opinion, but yeah, that's kind of, I think everyone, even some of the smartest people I know, jumped into shitcoin somewhere around March, gains that they were getting off a quick trade, and a lot of them are now sort of like back in their own version of a hibernation after getting rug pulled a few times and all those things that happen. So a bit of a divorce from fundamentals that needs to return for everyone to sort of survive the next 6 months, whatever direction.
There was a time there where I think you could have invested in literally any cryptocurrency and you were probably going to gain. And fortunately, I think I got in just around the start of that, and then I was able to transfer to stablecoin right around the start of the big drop that happened with Bitcoin.
I'm so jealous. I wish I would have. I really wish I would have.
But I'm all in again. I don't have any stablecoin at this point, but yeah, it does. I'm with you. I'm pretty optimistic of where this is going. For anyone that's interested, Rekt Capital, REKT, has some pretty interesting technical analysis, and that this might be I think it was called a Wyckoff Spring kind of chart. So we'll see how it goes the next few days, but I'm optimistic.
We're actually hoping to get them on the show here, so I will make sure that you are the first to know if that happens.
That'd be great.
Yeah. And also, if there are any other guests that you guys would be really excited about, we're building this out and starting to line up and program some really interesting guests to come on. So all ideas welcome. I mean, we definitely want to keep it fun, but we also want to keep it, inspiring and educational at the same time. Meow Meow, did you have anything else that you'd like to, any words you'd like to leave the group with?
I wish I could, but not for now. But I think I've just talked with Wix a little bit, right? We're gonna share some news this week. That's like a little bit confirmed. And we're gonna have, I think tomorrow, something interesting here. So stay tuned to. So just leave it with the suspense. Again, useless suspense, but yeah, I cannot do anything with that. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, and I think what we'll also do is, and this is for Josh, is I think we'll get better about alerting people to. I mean, Twitter is one good way to find out. But if you're not on Twitter, just to make sure the community knows when these things are happening, especially if Jamie or BTC or any of them are coming on to speak, so that you do have that interaction, that ability to ask questions. And just that sense of confidence. I mean, I have a lot more visibility than the community has in terms of the leadership and what's going on behind the scenes. So it's easy for me to have conviction about this. But I certainly want the community to feel that they have access to that same level of information and that, a more intimate relationship with the project leadership.
We are here. We're not going anywhere. So don't worry, guys. We're always open.
And thank you so much, guys, for coming today. And Floppy, thank you for all the wonderful things you had to say. It's great having you on here.
Yeah.
A very sobering, calming voice. but yeah, no, thanks to everyone. And again, feel free to DM us with questions or ideas or thoughts or anything. And obviously the governance forum is there for you as well if you want to make deeper proposals to the project ownership.
Oh, and a little bit of plug to our YouTube users. If you're watching me from YouTube for some reason, don't forget to smash that like button, click subscribe and the bell, this obvious blogger shit, so...
I don't know what you just said. I have no idea.
No, it's
Is this your YouTube channel?
Yes, YouTube channel.
Okay.
In the description of my profile or in the chat there is a stream. So because we're streaming this to YouTube too, so people can listen it afterwards.
All right, perfect. All right, everyone, thank you so much.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you next week.
See you next week, guys.
Thanks.